We did it together. Okay, so my name is Joanna Larson. For anybody who doesn't know me, I think almost everybody in this room knows me by now, so that's good. We've got our EOC staff that was here, our firefighters staff, our EOC, and we've got a couple of people that I'd like to introduce really quickly before we get started. Our firefighters who staffed our EOC, could you guys stand up? No, well, actually stand. I think they must have gone on a call or something for real. Because I was on the way here. We do have real things that happen in Orem, even though this is happening together, right? We do some of the things that happen. Chief and chief, we have double chiefs. Could you guys stand up? Scott Burns, our fire chief, and they've been really instrumental in making sure that we've got the support that we needed to get this done. And I think we only have one council member here. Is there anybody else that showed up? I'm not seeing. Margaret, would you mind saying Margaret Black? Amazing. Thank you. Awesome. Anybody else who volunteered in the EOC or in the MAC? Stacy? Craig James, he's our dispatch manager, and he's actually going to be talking up here. Ricky in the back. Awesome. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now what we want to do in a hot wash, and that's what we're calling this is a hot wash, is we're going to quickly just go over some of the positives and some of the negatives that we found tonight. Now, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we want to find our failures, and I put those in air quotes. Please put that in air quotes. Failures. Because failures, when the sun is shining, are fine. But what they do is they help us to identify those gaps that we have in our system and that we can work on. So what we want to do tonight is not point fingers. We don't want to say something failed or was terrible or, blame people or the system. But we do want to find out where are those places in our system that we can improve and that we can change going forward, so that in a year when we do this, we're going to do this again in a year, maybe a year from tonight, around tonight. We will find those things, and those will be the things that we work on. So we do want to know positive things too, because that's important. We do need to know when we have succeeded. So I'm going to take a vote. Who would like to start with negatives, or who would like to start with positives? Negatives, raise your hand. All right, we're going to start with positives. Cool. And then we're going to end the night on a very sad note. But that's okay. Let's go ahead, and we're going to try to keep this. We need to be done for sure by 9:30, but I'd like to be done by 9:15 if that's possible. That's in a half an hour. We're going to try to get this done and dirty and get it done. Let's raise your hands if you have a few things or one thing that you'd like to say that's a positive comment that you learned or that you did or that you saw from tonight's show. Mark.
The reverse 911 works.
Great.
I got several different ways of contact, email, text, etc. And so, good job.
Good. That actually reminds me. Hold on, we're going to stop for 1 second and we're going to rewind. Ricky's going to tell us our numbers because we didn't do that. Ricky, stand up and tell us our numbers for tonight. How many?
Okay. So we actually split into 3 divisions, or if you include the MAC out front. So for East Division, we had 12,255 total people. Northeast, we had 8,090. West, we had 9,389. And then the unaffiliated that checked in through the MAC, we had 27 for a total of 29,761 people.
Wow. It's going to make you cry.
That's great.
All right, that's a pretty good positive.
How many residents do we have?
We have 100,000. So to get 27,000 people, I can tell you that there's no city in this nation that can do that. I'll tell you now that there's no city in this nation that can do that. We're going to tell you Craig. Craig is going to talk about our reverse 911, how it was set up, our citizen opt-in, and what our numbers were there.
So our new system that we have for the reverse, what you call, I really refer to it as a mass communication system, but it is, most of the public will understand it as a reverse 911 system. This was kind of our first big test for that system. There's a couple ways we load that with data. We do use the public database that includes white page data, yellow page data, but we also allow citizens to opt into that system. At this point, we have just under 500 people that have opted in so far, and that's only since Monday. So this was kind of a good event for us because it drew attention to opting into that system, and that helped us out. When they opt in, they can provide cell phone numbers, work numbers, addresses, email addresses, all sorts of different numbers, whatever the citizen wants to provide to us as a way to get a hold of them. When we send out a message, we create that message. We set it up because people can receive a text message. That message we got to keep fairly short so it gets sent out correctly. But our system will actually let us send out 2 messages in one, meaning we can send out a text message that can be converted into a voice call at the same time, as well as send email information as well. The good thing about the email side is I can make that message more detailed, a lot longer, and give more information to citizens that way. In this case, we just did the shorter message. We sent it out at 5:30 to all, at that time, we thought all the neighborhoods that we had. We sent 2 messages out. The first one was, I thought we had all the neighborhoods. We sent that out as a reminder notice to people. The one thing about that notification system is if they, some of you, I know somebody said they received several notifications from several sources. If you confirm you received that message, it will stop with however you confirmed it. So if you get your text message first and you confirm it, it's not going to ring your house, it's not going to ring your email, those kind of things, unless we're sending that second email message.
Is that different for tonight? Because I got multiple ones on each device, even though
You confirmed?
I did too.
I
confirmed.
There is a button that we may not have pushed.
Yeah, it's supposed to. I noticed when I was looking at the report, a lot of people, once they confirmed it, only sent it to that one device. But it is possible that's how it's set up.
Some of it could be user error, because we've had the system in place for a
Not
week.
me.
No, not your end. I'm not saying our end. Because we're still learning how to use
I
it.
think it has not quite as long a gap between the message and to hit one if you received it. And because the first time I just hung up,
Yeah.
but then the second time it had that message.
And that space is controlled by the system. But I know what you're saying.
The phone call I responded to, I said yes. The text I responded to, I said yes. The email said it came on, I responded to it and said, it's already been confirmed. I was like, well, I know that. So what it was telling me after.
The one interesting about those responses coming back is we can see them. So if somebody on the text message pushes yes and then types another message in there, we can see it on our end. So even though they're confirming the message, if they wanted to say, hey, I need help, we would see that on the report end of the message as well.
Oh, that's
How
good.
do we opt in to put in our cell phones? What do we do?
If you go to Orem Alerts,
Let's go to
Orem City Drill.
and then-
It's on our Orem City Facebook page too, but the easiest way right now is oremcitydrill.com, and then there's a link, click through.
With registration.
Yes,
I honestly didn't get the.
yes, you were one that we forgot to put in the
that's
first
why.
one. So
Okay.
you got it at 6:10?
I sent it at 6:15, I
Yes.
think, the second one. I did have to send the second one because we realized I missed the state. So I sent it the second message was just to the state I missed.
Okay, I'll pass it
But you
on.
have
And
to
that's
go
why,
over a
that's why
quarter.
it came out a little later, and it was a little different message, hey, it's already started. Make sure you contact the block out.
And I would suggest you might consider next time saying, this is a reminder that it's going to happen at 6 p.m.
Yes.
Since you didn't have a time, and some people thought, oh, it started early.
I noticed that after I was reading the message, after I sent it, I was looking at it, I was like, I should have put, it starts at 6.
Yeah, that
So,
A lot of things we've learned. Okay, two and three are on the reverse one, and then we're gonna go back to the drill.
let me just say this about this really quick. We learned something about this, and we had way more confirmations this time than last time. And part of that was the way we send the message, part of that was the opt-in. But we're learning every time we send a message how to make it more effective and make sure people are getting the message and responding and letting us know that they got it. And that's been one of the great things about the system is our confirmation numbers jumped this time from the last time we did a test, so that's really
Can
good.
you tell us the numbers?
We had on the first message out of 5,300 messages that were sent, we had 1,170 that were confirmed.
Just about a quarter.
On the second one, we had out of
408.
408 messages, 120.
So you were over.
I think 126 confirmed on that one. We can also look at the method they confirmed, so we know if they responded to the text message, if it was an email confirmation or a phone confirmation, whatever it was, we can see those numbers too, so it's really helpful for us.
I kind of a random comment. The other day I got notice for the Linden drill, which was great, and that was coming from Orem City Dispatch. This time, the number that I got was 724-3765. Who's that?
We learned something when we sent the message out. What happens is, people that don't understand the message, just call back the caller ID number. It flooded our dispatch center. And so what we did is we set up a second number, that's that 724 number, that we record another message onto. So if people didn't hear the message and they call back, it gives them the same message again. Tells them exactly what they heard and keeps it from going through dispatch, which I called dispatch and they got most of the calls they got were regarding what do they do about the drill, not what was this message you sent them.
Okay, so the follow-up on that is the 724 number, will that be the reverse 911? If anything is sent out in the future, that'll be the same number?
Yes, that'll be the caller ID number we'll use. And it's for that purpose. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's really, okay. Moving on. Yes. Okay, we're moving on. Are we doing a positive? Okay, we've got our note takers, so we're doing a positive. Please, Steve.
Okay, I think it's very important to understand the purpose of this drill.
Can you guys all hear? We're all listening now.
I don't know that the majority of people in the city understood the purpose of the drill. There were two things. Number one was participation. Number two was to test the channel. We were not testing the content. We weren't testing the forms. And there could be a lot of reasons to say, well, this is lame, that is lame. But if you look at the participation level and you look at the communication channel that was tested, two great positives. When we do this again, we'll test content, we'll test other things, we'll test forms, and those will be a concern. But if you understand the purpose, it was a rousing success.
Great, thank you. You had a comment in the back?
Another positive is that block captains that had been assigned 2-3 years ago, it renewed all of that, and the participation was the good part. So it got wards and stakes to update their communication system.
Great, thank you.
I think the signs were very positive and stimulating interest.
Good, the signs worked. Did everybody see them around town? It was kind of fun driving around town and seeing the signs. Woohoo!
And now you need them back.
We do need them back, because we're cheap that way. We don't put that on. We are frugal in the city of Orem, and we will be reusing those signs, so please.
How do you want them collected?
If you could just bring them back to the public safety building, to that window, they'll start putting them in the closet for me. Or you can take them to me, to my office, if you know that I'm there.
You want the wire out?
No, leave the wires in, we're just gonna leave them like that, we're gonna put them in a closet. Okay, next positive. Yes. Speak really loudly for people in the back.
One big example was the Stonewood Second Ward, Bishop Baxter.
Yes.
What was really impressive is he didn't just do what he was supposed to do. He literally got all his block captains to work with him, and he knows everybody on his ward list on that little map. He knew who was home, he knew everything. And out of 392 people, he got like 339 people were accounted for. And he said, we love this. We really want to use this. We learned from it. We're going to practice some more. And so he's actively involved with his block captains and his ward members. And I would like to see my ward actively practice drills in between these yearly drills. So everybody in the ward, in the area, knows who are the block captains, what would happen in an emergency, and we are really working together this way.
So Denise,
That was such a great example.
you guys have a license to help do this, is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
Nosy, I will eventually get it.
Okay, so let me mention two things about that. The particular bishop or district commander that she's talking about actually heard about this drill yesterday.
Wow.
So that would be a failure on my part, but a positive on his part. He heard about it through the grapevine, or however he heard about it. He called his neighborhood last night. They said they were not participating. He called me today and he said, tell me what's supposed to happen. He literally called me at 12 o'clock today. And I spent 20 minutes, half an hour with him on the phone, and they were probably the most successful with 4 or 5 hours of notice. Now, what that tells us is if there's a disaster, we can pull ourselves together really fast.
Yes.
We really can. We really don't need 4 months or 5 months to plan this. We really can do this quickly. But now we have a year to get better. So that's a really great success. The other thing that I want to mention from your comment is now we're gonna write up our findings, all of these positives and negatives from tonight. We're gonna make some observations from that, and the negatives we will take that are ours, and we will work on them. Chief Bernie and Chief Giles are going to be back there, and we're going to work on that over the year. How do we strengthen our side of this? And the negatives from your side, you have a year to start working on bolstering those pieces that are gaps. So that's what we're going to do for the next year. I would like to start our next meeting in January to start coming together and to just have a discussion. We'll meet monthly. We'll meet quarterly in January, and then towards the summer, we'll start meeting monthly. Okay. Wait, Jed had a comment?
I just saw a lot of unity at different levels. So I think it was a great unifying event. Community unifying, people coming together. There's people that I've talked to because of this that I wouldn't have been able to talk to otherwise.
So let me ask one quick question before we get to your comment, or did you have a comment about this?
Well, on your report, I would recommend that you put it in the paper and you send copies of it to all of those who were supposed to have participated.
Okay. I will send it out to everybody that's on our committee, including Sunset Heights, who I keep missing, but I will remember them this time. And we will work as a city about getting that out in a public way so that you guys can find it. We'll put a link on our city website, I think, and then so you guys can look at it and refer to it as well there.
And actually, it was in the paper. I saw it in the paper.
The newspaper article from yesterday?
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Awesome.
That was a good article. The Herald.
Okay.
Somebody's calling to check in, I'm sure, at the EOC. Okay, have we pretty much, I do have one question. Even though we are using the LDS Church's infrastructure to accomplish this drill, we do know that we are trying to account for all of our citizens. It's not just the LDS people that we care about. As a city, we care about all of our citizens. So did anybody have any experiences where we saw inclusion outside of the church structure? Marilyn?
One of the wards blocks that I observed, she went around with a quarter sheet flyer to everybody in campus, so that made sure that every person, every household received it. And she said that many that they didn't really see out too much came and participated.
Good. That's what we want. Dana, and then we'll go here, and then we'll go to that.
I have a bunch of block captains that are non-members, and every single house in our ward is included in everything.
Perfect. That's what we want to hear. That's the goal. And that's what we need to think about as we're going forward. We have a stewardship here, and we're using the structure, but our neighbors are our neighbors. Laura?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same kind of thing. We have a lot of people that won't open the doors if it's church related. They came out, they reported, they were one with us. It was awesome, and it was very empowering too. The block captains realized that their job wasn't as hard as they were kind of thinking that it would be, and they came into the bishop's office with their forms and, okay, is there anything else? Oh, that's it? Oh, I can do this, and then they went home feeling very just confident.
Good. Awesome. In the back, and then we'll go to Mark.
Everyone in Heather Ridge Fourth Ward is accounted for right now.
Great. Good. Mark?
Is it premature to know the date for next year already, so you can put it in the paper? Will it be the third Thursday again, do you think?
If we want to vote, we can pick a third Thursday.
I mean, it's the
No,
third
it's a little
Thursday
premature.
is the 17th. It's not the week of 9/11, it's the week after, but hey, it wasn't this one.
Why don't we, it's possible.
It's premature. Yeah, I think it is a little premature, but I think that we should have the goal that by January, we'll know the date, so that we can have it on everybody's calendars. Okay. Are we done with one more positive? Because we're feeling good, but we're going to have to bring it down a little in just a second.
Just the net strand really well.
What?
The net strand really well.
And the radio. We didn't talk about the radio. No, gee. Any comments? Is Lance here?
Spriticus said it was outstanding, and he should know.
And he's
from the VA. He's one of the top people in the state. So
I did not.
The radios were outstanding.
I didn't introduce our evaluators. If you were an evaluator, please raise your hand. We got 2 here, the rest I think went home. We had evaluators from all over the state that came in, emergency managers, so they're going to give us their honest opinion next week in a written report, so we'll see what, we're going to be brought down a little bit on that one. You said something, okay, you have one
I
more.
just want to say, I have 33 block captains, and I was scared to death I would be like 5 of them. I was really only 1.5, which is amazing, considering the trouble that I've had. So, well, we had great. Everybody just did it when it was time to show up.
I think that's what we're going to find in a real disaster. We're just going to do it. We're going to get in and do it. Okay, do you have a response?
Just that I thought it was really good to be able to actually walk through the steps, so that you feel a little more confident and you know where your horses are.
Good, perfect. All right, time to lighten the mood, not darken the mood. Okay, what are our holes in our guts? And we really need to be honest. We really need to look at ourselves in not a harsh way, and we're not pointing fingers again, but we really need to be honest about what our holes are, what our gaps are, because we're not going to improve if we don't identify them.
We were dedicated to using all the ICS forms, and so that's what we used exclusively, because we were taught by, FEMA and that sort of thing to use those things. And so doing that, we realized that there were some serious shortcomings in those forms, and we kind of ended up using our own form, if you will. So next time we're probably going to use at least on 2 of them our own homebrew form rather than the ICS form.
For the communication piece
Right.
itself. Okay. Jana?
So in the same vein of forms, I went over to the Linden thing and I saw what they were doing, and their forms were significantly easier and smaller, less work than ours. They had like a last name and 5 members of the family, and you just put 1, 2, or 3 in the other 3 blocks. Whereas ours had a bazillion names and a lot of totaling things that were more complicated. So I just thought, well, you know what, next time we might just do the simpler.
More simple. Okay.
Less work for the block captains too, because there were people who did not want to give out names.
Oh, right. Yes, we had a very active planning committee that worked on the forms, and I'm sure that we're going to have vigorous debates again about the forms. So that'll be noted, and then that'll be in our debates. I'm pretty sure. Okay, another gap. Paul.
We're Northridge. We had done this last year with them. And one thing we were hoping for, and I know you had one school participate this year, it would be nice to find a way to, we were anxious to bring the schools into this somehow.
Yeah.
Because the parents are very anxious for how that's going to work.
So just so you know, tomorrow Orem Elementary will be doing a pretty significant drill. What they're doing is they're doing a reunification. So they're evacuating their school and they're having the parents come early, and they're testing that checkout. So that's really pretty significant. So that's tomorrow.
Aspen is planning that in May, I believe.
May's doing, yeah. There was a meeting last year and several of them talked about it. So I think there's going to be 2 or 3 that are going to do that this year. So that's good to know. You must live near Laurel.
I do.
Yes.
One thing, whether it can be worked on or not, I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of other issues. But this was back to school night, which also kind of affected maybe some of the numbers. So maybe communicate with the school district to find out so that we can do this not on a back to school night.
That's an excellent point. Even our EOC commander had to leave to go to a school event. So we will try in our committee to look at every calendar that we can and pick a date that's a little bit more workable.
How does this drill affect the commercial entities?
It does not this year. We didn't include them at all. Going forward, just so you know, the City of Orem is working on a Ready Your Business program, and we're hoping to launch that in January. Right now, we're trying to just get business information on who would be able who would be interested in starting being on a committee there. So next year, we're hoping to include our business sector. This year, we didn't include them at all. Did I answer your question?
I heard that Jive had a block captain come in and they all met at 6.
Wait, who did?
Jive Communications down at 1600.
So we had one business.
So I know who's got-
Sweet, we included our business. That's awesome.
I was wondering if it had been organized.
No, it was not organized at all. They did it on their own, which tells you what kind of people we have here. Awesome people. There was another comment towards the back. No. Okay. Mark?
I don't know if many of you struggled to get maps once you can geographically picture, you know, the configuration of a ward, then you can circle, okay, this is block 1, this is block 2, et cetera. You know, I struggle when I'm the high counselor for Heather Ridge State. I'm meeting people here I haven't talked to very little yet, but not, except on the phone. But, you know, we need that, and you know, I know you have that capability in the city, but that might facilitate some of them getting more organized quicker.
Yes, I think, Chief Grady, maybe you can help validate this or not. I think our JS folks might be able to help them get maps for their states that are usable to them over, we have a year, so we won't be able to do it quickly, but I think over the year we might be able to work on it. Okay, then we'll try to work on that over the year.
The Stonewood stake, the ward, Bishop Baxter, had an amazing map, and he had it all mapped out by the blocks.
Yeah.
Each one numbered.
Some are a little bit more advanced than others because I think it's depending on who is in their neighborhood, who has those skills. Because your folks has come on and did us done that already. One here and then we're going to go in. Oh, he's showing us his map.
So there's a church resource that can outline the stakes in the ward and their map.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, LDS Tools has our word on it.
So LDS Tools.
And all of our block captains are signified and their numbers are next to their blocks.
Okay, LDS Tools. Now, if that doesn't work, we will be a backup, but let's start there. Yes.
I came over here to the city and the map guy here and made a 2-foot by 3-foot map for me.
Was it Roger?
Yeah, and if you tell them that you're doing it for your ward or, you know, for the purpose of that, didn't cost me a thing. They made 2 maps for me and then also sent the PDF to me on my email so that I could have it in the future. So they will do, they have the facilities to do that here.
What's Roger's last name? Done. Once you work through me, and I'll just, right now he's really overwhelmed, just so you know, we're migrating to a new email system. And at the moment, so we're gonna have to wait maybe a month or 2 before we start innovating him with those requests. But in about 2 months, maybe contact me and then we'll see what we can do there. There was something, in fact, we've got 6 minutes and we will be done. So let's, anything important that we want to, we didn't have that many gaps, we really had to have more than that.
We couldn't get the radio to work at our state center. We had 3 homes there, and they couldn't get the message sent in by radio. They were not experienced enough to be able to figure the whole thing out.
Okay.
And I was afraid that that would happen. I think that it would be fantastic if we could have just a separate meeting for hams.
Okay.
And a little training session.
So maybe a month or 2
Because
months
even though
before.
someone has a ham radio license, it doesn't mean they know what they're doing.
Okay. No, it's a month before, we'll do that next year. We had one over here, was it? Let's go to,
Our hams were great, but we requested all the wards to return a report by giving the physical things like you asked us to, and I was the only one that took one. And we did get one tonight brought here from another ward, but not to the stake, and all the numbers are, they put our numbers with a different ward, and so the numbers are mixed up. And when I finally got the one from the other ward, those numbers aren't anywhere found on this stake report that they recorded. So those are the holes that we're having. So the physical really does need to be there, and it needs to be cross-checked.
okay, so that's something that will go in the report, but each of you will figure that out in your own space, kind of get better. Let's go Laurel, and then we'll go to Jenny.
We were on 147.48 for a long time within our stake, and then all of a sudden we started hearing city chatter saying we need to use 147.48. Is anybody on this? And then our ham person said, okay, well, let's hurry up and move over to 147.44. And well, wait, no, who got that message? And it kind of, do we have assigned stations for every stake for the city? I know the church net is different.
Yes, so Alan or no, do one of you want to answer that?
I'll take a shot at it. There are more needs than there are resources available, and so we have to share it. And all frequencies are available for sharing. Any amateur radio operator can operate on that. We need to, we can't coordinate them for exclusive use, but a good net control operator can give everybody the time that they need to be able to operate. So if your state is using that one, it's always good to know so that we don't coordinate one out. So communications is the key, and being generous and kind and sharing is another.
Well, I had no problem doing that. It just became.
It's just the confusion.
When all of a sudden they said, okay, we're going to the other one. Wait, we're doing what? And then there was noise, and so a lot of people didn't get that message. And I was just wondering if we have a list, like this state does this one, this does, anything like that.
I like the idea of a special group, and we can get together and coordinate those things at that time. There's an ICS Form 217 communications plan, which we are trying to maintain for the county. And if we knew everybody that's using it, that would actually alleviate, let us use more of the beneficial.
And we use the 217 tonight. But the thing is that information is also posted on the website. So everybody should have known, what all the frequencies were and such. But like Ellen said, nobody really owns any frequencies. When we're using the simplex frequency, we have to share, be kind, be courteous, and, do our best. And it's up to the person to say, so it's already being used, let's go ahead and switch over if it's, in use. So, and we can work those things out.
I think let's do 2 more comments, and then we're going to start wrapping up. Did we get to you yet?
Just a quick little gap that we had, that it would not be a little gap in a real emergency would not be a little gap, is all our reports were delivered by a singular person, and some of them were children. So, we'll fix it, but it's just something that went wrong. They didn't quite understand the ramifications of sending one person or a child, and, that needs to be changed.
So that's something we do need to think about, is safety of those people that we're sending out. If we're talking about a real disaster and there's debris on the road or whatever, we do need to make sure that they're sent in pairs and responsible pairs so that they're safe. So probably not children, but use your own brain on that. One more comment, and then we're going to wrap up because we want everybody to go home to their families. Who wants the last?
It seemed these are the little cards. It seems like these were not used much, and there wasn't much emphasis on it, which may not be all bad, but where you report to your block captain, in a sense it doesn't matter if you've got this hanging back at your house.
I think for what I prefer and what I would like to see is I would really love to see everybody actually physically checking in with their block captains. And the cards are great. They're good for quick information, but they don't tell you the status of everybody in the home. So you could have a yellow card, and yellow means you need assistance, but what does that mean to somebody? That means they have a pipe that's broken. To somebody else, they have a broken back. That's very different in how we send our resources out, including the neighborhood resources. So they give us some information. If it says red, somebody better go check on them. But what I prefer is that everybody walk physically out and know their neighborhood, because knowing your neighborhood helps you with that second category, that missing but accounted for. If my neighbor's at Disneyland, and I know that because we're a neighborhood and we kind of
and surge and all that stuff. So it's really encouraging to me to see how far we've come in the last few years and how far we're going to go as we refine this process. So thanks to everybody. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for showing up tonight. Kevin?
I think it went super well in the EOC. The thing I was most impressed with was people that came in that maybe weren't familiar with the incident command system. They were able to be given a task, an assignment, and then go do that assignment. The communications guys were awesome. They were like a standalone pillar that we gained a lot of information from. As fire guys, we do this all the time as far as divide and conquer and span and control things. So that's our thing. That's what we do. But I was really impressed with the way that the citizens came in and were able to just jump in and do an assignment. So I thought that integration worked really well. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you. Chief and Chief, I don't know which one wants to go first. Which one wants to have it? Chief Grady?
First of all, thank Councilman Black for being here and giving her support this evening, and a big hand to Joanna. it's evident in the way she leads out in participating in this event. And I'd like to thank her, and I want to thank all of you, because Chief Giles and I, the first 5 words of our mission statement is in partnership with the community. In partnership with the community. And we can't do anything as a fire department or as a police department by ourselves. We rely upon you. And I want you to know, as you participated in this event, it's the first time. And yeah, you see positives, you see negatives, but everything is what we're hoping for is what's going to happen next year. How do we improve? How do we make things better? How can we learn from the mistakes we made? How do we learn from the things that we did good, and ultimately make a difference in people's lives? Because it's not about one neighborhood or one person. It's about all of us as a community coming together to benefit everybody. So thank you for being here and taking time out of your schedules to make a difference in our community, in your neighborhoods, and even in your own lives. Because it's going to take all of us together to make a difference. And so I thank you for your participation and being here. So give yourself a
Chief Giles is going to have the last word, and then we're going to adjourn.
I'll make it very quick then. I just, as some of you may know, I spent the last 2 years down in South Texas as chief of police, right next to Corpus Christi, so we were right on the Gulf of Mexico. One of the things that I had never been involved in prior, because I had been here for my entire life before that, was hurricanes. And we started into the hurricane training the year I got there, and then this year we had a lot of hurricane training as well. And one of the things that we have such an advantage here, and we talked about, you know, it isn't a church thing, but we utilize the systems we have in place. We have an amazing system in place right now to get this many people accounted for on just a drill, basically. You know, we had entire towns. Corpus Christi is a city of about 400,000 people. If they were to evacuate that city, I'll tell you what, it's scary. Because, you know, my city was right across the bridge, 17,000 people. We don't have the communication to tell them to evacuate the city. There wasn't that communication with individual neighborhoods like we have here. If we had a drill like this in Portland, Texas, in the city I came from, we would be probably hard-pressed to get 1,000 reporting. Very, very poor communication within the neighborhoods. The city had just fine. We could stand up at EOC and do a great job, get the news out, and things like that. But as far as the boots on the ground in the neighborhoods, like you guys, we are hands down well ahead of the curve, and I applaud you also for that.
Okay, thank you for your support. We will get this report out pretty quickly, probably within the next few weeks. I am going to take a couple days to actually do my Everbridge training that I have neglected for the last few weeks. So it probably won't be for a few weeks, but we will get that out sometime in the middle of October or so you guys can all be looking for that. We will begin again in January, so if you guys want to figure out who's going to be on your committee and you to send them to me, I'll send out an email and we'll get started again. Thank you very much, and see you in January. If there's any pizza,